Okay, today's video will be about singleness and what it means. Basically, it's for those that are called the singleness. Now, the gift of singleness, there's a few videos on it and stuff, and they outline things in your life that you'll go through that is a way of showing that you have a gift of singleness. My example for it would be to look at the Apostle Paul. He was single his entire life. He was never married. He was one of the few in the Bible that never had spouse or children. And he talks about being single. Now, being called to singleness by God, and being called to marriage, two different things. And being single or choosing to remain single isn't because, you've gotten hurt and you're mad and you're just like, oh, I'm going to bother dating nobody or marry nobody, I'm just going to whatever. And you just go off on your own. That is living in disobedience of God because you are actively pursuing singleness for yourself. It's not God's will. You see, a lot of Christians that are single, but many will fight God's plans for their lives, right? They don't fully surrender. Some people I'm going to stay single because I want to be single. It's like, okay. But you're in disobedience of God if he's calling you to marriage. And you will know. Because Paul was content being single. Okay? Now what did Paul do in his day? Well, he advanced the kingdom and followed God, right? But he wasn't hooking up. He wasn't dating. He didn't have corn. And he wasn't beating his wiener. Okay? Paul never did that stuff. And it's different nowadays, but still you have to live the same thing. That's why it's called the Paul arc, right? That's what I'm on, because I'm abstaining from all that. And that's what you have to do. That's what Paul did. And that's what it means to be single. You're happy and content being single, but you're not doing all this worldly stuff. You're not dating, you're not hooking up, like I said, you're not sleeping around, and you're not watching the corn, right? That's when you're in singleness. That's what it means. Now, being married is different. If you burn with lust and you know that God is leading towards marriage, then marry. Because if you don't, then you are in direct disobedience of God. See, that's the whole point to surrender. A lot of people don't like that word, surrender to God, when he says, surrender your life to me, because my plans are better. Now, me, for a long time, I didn't want to surrender to God. Even as a new Christian walking, I fought Jesus. I'm like, no, I said, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And I would resist. And he would keep urging me to go this direction, a certain direction. And I would keep resisting. I'm like, no, I won't do it. And I was always conflicted and never fully satisfied until I accepted God's way. And then when I surrendered to him, then it changed. Then I started walking. Then I started getting better. I was able to heal from my past injuries. I was able to heal from damages done. But it's only when I truly surrendered. And that is what Jesus did constantly. He always surrendered to the Father. He said, your will, not my will, be done. That's what you have to do. You have to surrender to God. It is scary, and you may not want to, but you have to hand control over to God. And if you're just remaining single because you're bitter or hurt, or you're just doing it because you're just mad at God, you are living in direct disobedience. You are sinning. And you will have to change your ways. That's what surrendering is. See, if you're single, it's if you're content. You're not thinking of marriage. You don't want to hook up with people, okay? If you have a strong desire to marry or have sex, you have a real strong desire for it, and you're single, but you have you just want a wife and kids, or you have, just a high sex drive, that's probably a good sign that you're supposed to be married, that, God's saying marry. But singleness is where you are completely content being single. You're not hooking up. You're not dating people. You're not, on the dating apps. You're not doing anything. You're not into the coin, as I said at the start. That's a major thing. You'll see me repeating it. Is major thing with being single. No sexual sin. That means you're not beating your wiener. You're not going to the corn. You're not dating. All that stuff. If you want to be single, you are basically a single monk like Paul for the rest of your life. Until Jesus calls you home. That is advancing the kingdom, doing what God wants you to do, and you're single. And that's it. And you will be called to that, and God will give you the strength to be able to endure that life. But if you can't stand or endure being single, then it's probably a good sign that you're meant to be married, that you're to pursue marriage. But you will have to make that choice yourself. Because God will not force anything on you. He can tell you which way to go, and He can show you. But until you actively surrender your will to God and surrender to Him, you will not do what He tells you to do. Okay, you won't. You will resist and you will fight. And you can spend so much time resisting and fighting against God that you become ineffective for advancing the kingdom because you keep resisting. And you'll never be able to fully embrace the blessings He has, and you'll never be able to fully embrace your anointing and full potential because you will constantly be fighting. You won't be fully surrendered. And if you don't fully surrender to Him, then you are just going to be fighting. You're going to be fighting against where He goes. He may pull you in one direction, and you're like, no, I don't want to go there. I want to go this way. Right? And you'll just be constantly fighting with Him. And when that happens, you will not, be able to do the job He wants you to do, advance the kingdom, because you're fighting and resisting. So, being single, some are called to it. Yes, there is a gift of singleness, but just read about Paul. He tells you how you can tell if you have it. It's where you are content and happy being single now. Being single and serving God is great. Okay, Paul says if you can be single and you serve the kingdom and you're happy, you're like Him, you're content in it. And I mean content. Like you're perfectly fine being single, and that's what you're pursuing, and you're happy. If you are, you probably have the gift of singleness. Be single, I thought I was going to be single for a long time, but I can feel the pull of God. I haven't resisted it, but I'm also waiting and building because I have things in my life He wants me to do before I get married. Now, I thought I was going to be single, and I avoided it. Said in other videos, I ran from it. I was like, I'm going to be single. I'm not going to have a relationship. I'm not going to do nothing. I'm going to run. And eventually I surrendered. I said, not my will, but your will be done. And I know someday I will be married. When that is, don't know. I left that up to God. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not praying about it. I'm just letting God handle that. I gave it to Him. I surrendered that. I said, here, Lord, this is yours. Do what you want. Send me a spouse down the line or don't. Either way, I'm at the point where I'm going to serve You in Your kingdom and advance it. And I'm going to keep making videos and content. I'm going to keep advancing the kingdom while I'm single, in my singleness. And if like I said, you have to come to that conclusion, that acceptance. Whether you're single or married, whichever way, you have to just say, Lord, it's up to You. That is true surrender. When you quit fighting, when you quit trying to control everything in your life, in order to receive the blessings and gifts, you're holding on tight with, both hands. You have to release that. You have to let go. You have to trust God. You have to give it to God. And don't be trying to reach out and pull it back. You have to say, Lord, You know what's best for me. I am at this point in my life. I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't know whether You want me single or married, but I trust You. I lift it up. I surrender it to You. Do with me and my life what You will. That is genuine surrender. Is when you quit fighting and resisting what God has for you to do, and you just embrace it. Me, for the longest time, I didn't think I would be a teacher, because I knew God was calling me towards that. Just the way it started, it's just I was called to something greater than myself, and I'm like, nobody wants to hear me. And now here I am on YouTube. Yes, my channel may be small, but I didn't do it for the fame and fortune as most people would do, as a YouTube, as a career. I did it to push the gospel and advance, and the content I focus on doesn't get a lot of views because I'm preaching the unbiased Bible, personal experience, as well of things I've gone through following God, but also I preach the Bible and what it says, and people don't like that, so they won't watch my content because they don't like being told biblical truth. And that's what I put on my channel. Everything I say, you can look up in the scriptures. Aside from my personal experiences I share, everything else is in the scriptures. You can read about all the people I talk about in the scriptures, okay? And you can read all about it and come to your own conclusions. And if I put any verses in my stuff or read from the Bible, guess what? You can go read it because it's in the scriptures. Anyways, hope this video helped clear up some things about being single or married, and just trust God in it. Okay? This has been a Voice in the Wilderness, soldier, bond servant of Christ, signing off. Whenever you see this, have a blessed day or night. Stay safe in these dark, crazy times. And I'll see you in the next one.